Hi, Mom. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Ahí sí, ¿me escucháis?
Sí.
Que siempre lo tengo mute, estoy traumada, que tú y la familia me dicen, ¡apágale, gracias! Oye, qué bueno que le han gustado las transcripciones. Tenéis que seguir haciendo archivos nomás, pues, los que faltan.
Yes. Ya pues, ponernos serios.
Hola, hola.
Hola, ¿habla español, Larry?
Sí, soy de Chile.
Ah,
No, ¿otro chileno?
Ajá.
qué bueno, 3 chilenos.
Siempre hay un chileno por ahí. Pero tu nombre no es muy chileno, Larry.
Ah, sí, es culpa de mis padres. ¿Ustedes están en Chile?
Sí.
Sí,
Qué bien.
Coquimbo.
Coquimbo.
Sí.
¿Tú?
En Alemania.
No sé, el sonido acá del computador.
Ah, ¿de tu computador?
No.
Pone mute,
no
mamá,
mío.
por favor. Pone mute. Creo que eres tú.
Me duele la cabeza ya. No va a ver.
Fue el computador de otra persona en el Zoom.
¿Por qué no muteaste esa wea?
Estoy hablando con la nadie.
Mutea el culiao, weón.
No sé quién.
Weón, sonaba tan fuerte que pensé que era afuera. No wey, po. Hijo de madre. Uno es gracioso, en serio.
Eduardo, por favor.
Mamá, ¿puedes poner mute para que no todos escuchen a Eduardo? Gracias.
¿Qué será el sonido ese?
Pone mute, por favor.
¡Corta esa wea! O ponte audífono.
No tengo.
No pienso tolerar esa wea.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. Doris Wolter. So, let's start. And I think a good start is always with taking refuge. So I will share some prayers here. So please first, basically, yeah, bring your body in a comfortable position, straight.
There is echo.
Really? Why is that? Wait.
Puedes poner mute, mamá, a tu Zoom. Eso es lo que tú estás generando. El eco es tuyo. Tienes que poner mute.
I think if everybody who's not talking is muting him or herself, then there should be less echo. I'm muting somebody here. So, okay, so try to find a good physical posture, and then bring your mind and your body, and then bring awareness and presence in your mind and a good motivation. With that, we take refuge here. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so forth, may I accomplish Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so forth, may I accomplish Buddhahood for the benefit of beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so forth, may I accomplish Buddhahood for the benefit of beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. And may all sentient beings abide in great equanimity, free from bias and attachment and hatred. And I don't know if you're aware, but today is Guru Rinpoche Day, Guru Loden Chokse. Oh, wait, I show him to you. Yeah, this is Guru Loden Chokse, so one of these 8 manifestations of Guru Rinpoche. And this one is especially after Guru Rinpoche had taken ordination, then this is the aspect that was very learned, you know, and also his name means that, you know, Loden Chokse. Wait, maybe I can write that down. Oh, but then you can't see the picture. So Loden is like having a mind, you know, or and that means actually, like in this case, Loden means like being wise, you know, having intelligence, being wise. And then Chok is sublime. And Se is like Sipa, is like thirst. So like really like being thirsty or hungry for the sublime, you know, the wise one who is the seeker for the sublime, basically, you know. And it is said that whenever he got teachings, you know, he immediately realized it. And that is also like how it originally has been, you know, when the 4 Noble Truths have been taught for the first time by Buddha Shakyamuni, you know, that is called, you know, the turning the wheel of Dharma. If really you transfer that realization to somebody else, you know, and Buddha Shakyamuni did that with his first disciples. So upon hearing, you see the truth and you understand and realize the teachings. So that is, yeah, that's just a side note. So Guru Loden Chokse was like that talented or that able to whatever he heard, like immediately realizing it, instead of myself needing a lot of time to study it, repeat it, contemplate, reflect, digest. And then finally, I get some certainty, and then I can meditate upon it, and then I can integrate it in my life. But he didn't need that time spent. So since it's a Guru Rinpoche Day, let's do a little bit the 7-line prayer. In the northwest border of the realm of Udayana, on the pistils of a lotus blossom stem, you attained the wondrous supreme Siddhi and became renowned as Padmakara. Numerous dakinis surrounded you as your retinue. As I practice following in your footsteps, please approach to bestow your blessings. Om Guru Pema Siddhi. On the northwest border of the realm of Udayana, on the pistils of a lotus blossom stem, you attained the wondrous supreme city and became renowned as Padmakara. Numerous dakinis surround you as your retinue. As I practice following in your footsteps, please approach to bestow your blessing. Om Ahom Guru Pema Siddhi. On the northwest border of the realm of Udayana, on the pistils of a lotus blossom stem, you attained the wondrous supreme city and became renowned as Padmakara. Numerous dakinis surrounded you as your retinue. As I practice following in your footsteps, please approach to bestow your blessings. Om Ahom Guru Pema Siddhi. Okay, let's visit Shantideva now. As you might have noticed, we are still in the 6th chapter, which is on patience. And we covered, I think, 45 verses already, the first 45, of course. And yeah, I think Shantideva is sort of famous for not just saying stuff like, be patient, or anger is bad, but he's always explaining the mechanisms behind, and the reasons why anger is bad or why patience is important. And therefore he's spending quite a lot of verses always to explain these mechanisms and the reasonings, so that we don't have to have like a blind faith, but that we can use our common sense and some logic and maybe direct perception or inferential logic, to understand the importance of patience. And since this is a Mahayana path, and so patience is not only for the aim of looking handsome and beautifully, which is described as a result of patience, but of course this is like a, how's it called, soteriological approach. Our aim is to reach enlightenment, to reach liberation. It's never to just gather information or to have results in this life or have a better next life, even though that might be a helpful tool. But the main aim is always to get out of samsara and nirvana altogether. And to do that, we have to transcend these two extremes, and therefore we need something that is a transcendent action. And Buddha prescribed like mainly 6 of them, the 6 paramitas, so that we can go beyond samsara and nirvana, because both are an extreme. And the essence of these 6 parameters is always wisdom and compassion sort of combined, that is bodhichitta. Compassion is wisdom is liberating ourselves, from the suffering and confusion of samsara, and then compassion is liberating us from the extreme of self-liberation or nirvana. So by that, through bodhicitta, we get rid of both these extremes, and we don't fall in either of these traps. So, and patience is one of those paramitic or transcending actions. And it is obviously the opposite of anger. But as I said last time, for me, it is already like a meditation, because you are not bothered by anything, you are unshakable. This akshobhya principle, you're not disturbable, you're not shakeable, irritatable. You can't you can't fall into a frustration or bitterness, but your mind has the strength, that is a patience. Your mind has the strength to be to remain peaceful, to remain calm and clear. And thanks to that, then we have much more chance to react in a bodhisattva manner, or in the bodhisattva's way of life, which is compassionate and wise. So patience is enabling us to do so, because we are not inviting like a klesha storm, but we keep calm, and therefore we can live the Bodhisattva's way of life, which is the title of the book. So that is patience, and that is the importance of patience. And the verses that we are in at the moment, in the 6th chapter, that is dealing with patience and is describing many, many different situations why we could lose our patience. So the verses we are in at the moment today, they sound a little bit Yogacharya, and also some teachers like Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche sometimes mention, that Shantideva might have some Yogacharya traits, which is now quite easy for some of us here who follow Sunamla's course at the moment on the Madhyanta Vibhaga. So we are very used to Yogacharya thinking at the moment. So some people even categorize Shantideva a little bit like a Yogacharya Madhyamikan, like on the relative level, he's using sometimes Yogacharya explanations, how appearances are happening. And then on the ultimate level, he's of course refuting any true existence of anything. So I'm saying that because today, when we start with verse 46, he's basically saying that everything is, a manifestation or maybe even embodiment of our mind. Of course, our mind doesn't have a body, but still everything, the stuff that we perceive like physical outside, it's all created by the mind. Because, thanks to certain imprints that we have stored in our mind, these imprints get activated or ripened through different causes and conditions. And then these manifest firstly outside what we perceive, and secondly, also how we perceive it. So the what and the how is both very much dependent on these imprints that we have stored through previous actions in our mind. So therefore, we creating what we see and what we experience, and then we are also creating how we experience these things. So it's really so self-made, and it's sort of waterproof a little bit. I mean, of course not, but it's a little bit difficult to get out of that, because we are so used to that. We are so used to think there's stuff out there, and we are so used to react in a certain way towards that stuff. So we have to break through these two things. We have to plant more positive imprints in our minds, firstly, to have a more positive experience or appearance in the outer world, and then also a more positive reaction towards it. But then, of course, as Ayadeva said, at some point we have to go beyond also the positive thing, the positive actions, and be wise and go beyond positive and negative, so that there are not even those dualistic appearances anymore. Okay, that was a little bit longish thing. Let's look at the verse, which is verse 46. And as usual, I'm using Stephen Batchelor's translation, even though Khyentse Rinpoche rightfully is saying so, that saying some critical things about Stephen Batchelor, but the translation is very straightforward and good for simple-minded people like me, because it's really like clear, I think. So please have in mind, that Shantideva is having this view that everything is created by the mind, everything is embodiment of the mind. So therefore, also if we are enlightened, like if you study Abhisamaya Alamkara, then also you create your own Buddha field, your own mandala. But in our day-to-day level, we create everything. What is happening out there is coming from our mind. And again, how we perceive it is also coming from our mind. And so Shantideva here is talking also about their negative experiences or appearances, or in Sakya lineage we say visions. We can have here the first two lines, just like the gardens of the hell worlds and the forest of razor sharp leaves. So this suffering produced by my actions. So basically Shantideva is addressing that there's so much suffering in hell realms, where we are punished, for example, by razor sharp leaves, weapons, other torture tools. And if I'm not mistaken, that is one of the 4 neighboring hells that are mentioned here. We have these hot hells, the 8 ones, and then around them are the neighboring hells. And one is reborn there because of too much sexual attachment to the partner. And then, you, for example, hear her or his voice, up there in a tree, and then you run up, and then these leaves are here like razor sharply cutting your body, but still you are so full of lust. Not the lust that Guru Lodin Shukse has, in regards to the sublime, in regards to transcending samsara and nirvana. It's just a very usual thirst, where we think we can be satisfied by something different from us. So we are running up, and then in the process of trying to arrive at our partner, then we get cut a lot, and then we arrive up there at the top of the tree, and then we hear his or her voice down there, and we rush down again, and we are getting cut again. We will discuss that more in the 10th chapter, but or you can also read that in Words of My Perfect Teacher, of course, in Jewel Ornament of Liberation, or Abhidharma Kosha. But we will come to that in the 10th chapter. And the point of Shantideva is that all this is created through my actions, produced by my actions. So it's not, it's not a punishment by a permanent God somewhere, who is like judging us and then has the power to choose our destiny and make us suffer or happy. And it's also not a causeless result, that we are just suffering randomly. And it's also not a result that is coming from wrong causes, like because I was generous, therefore now I'm suffering in hell. That would be not really like, how did Sunamla say today? It's not a concordant cause. But here in this case, it is a concordant cause. We created negative actions, and therefore we have that outside projection of a hell realm. And so where does that negative action come from? From our negative emotions. And where do they come from? Basically from our basic clinging, to the ego, thinking that we are here and the others are there, and thinking that we are important. Like Sia Kongto Rinpoche is always saying, this self-importance is the problem. And then, we do negative actions to nourish our ego or to protect it. And that leads there to this kind of suffering, for example, but of course there are many more sufferings. And therefore, in the last line here, Shantideva is asking, so with whom should we be angry? With ourselves, right? Because we are the creator, If you want to find a creator in Buddhism, I think, it's of course our mind and our karma. Our karma maybe is more like what is it called in grammar, in Tibetan grammar? It's like, the secondary agent. We are the first agent, and then we have the secondary agent. Like if I write with a pen, the pen is the secondary agent, and we are the leading agent, the first agent behind this action. And so likewise, our mind is the first agent, and then our kleshas and then karma is like the secondary agent that is creating everything. So in case you want to be angry with something or somebody, then yeah, no need to point fingers out there, because yeah, we created all that. And that is, yeah, as we know, it's one of my favorite Lojong slogans, you know, drive all blame into one. And maybe in Buddhism, we don't like blame so much, this word, so maybe we could loosely translate that slogan as like putting all responsibilities onto one. And the one is our ego clinging, you know, that ignorance, you know. So we should be, if we want to be angry with something or somebody, or if we want to blame somebody, or if we want to find who's responsible behind all that, then it is our ego clinging, and therefore karma and kleshas that create our sufferings, as the second noble truth is saying. And yeah, and when His Holiness the Dalai Lama once explained that verse, he was saying, that is of course true in the Tibetan situation too. You know, we might be happily blaming the Chinese for creating so much suffering for the Tibetans, but of course, it has to be. I mean, it is the karma of the Tibetans that is inviting that. Okay, sorry for that. Really, 25 minutes monologue here. Let's be more interactive now. So Larry is saying, or writing, can it be that good actions performed with good intention cause bad situations? No, not really. From Abhidharma Kosha point of view, it is, yeah, there has to be that concordance, you know, like positive actions bringing positive results, you know, like mango seed creating a mango tree, and not, I don't know, a Mercedes, you know, it is like, that would be really a different discordant result. So there is, Abhidharma maybe is looking at it too substantially from Madhyamika point of view, but they explain it that there is, there is something existent in this, something positive in that action, and therefore it can only, in the next instances of its existence, you know, it can only produce another virtuous next instance, and therefore happiness. You guys can also, I mean, it's nice that you write stuff, but you can also unmute yourself and we can discuss. Otherwise, yeah, it's getting too monologues, as I said. But
Yeah.
Lucy, wait, Marlene.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, because Lucia was writing something.
Yeah, okay.
And what if there's a good intention, but outwardly the act appears negatively? I mean, that happens a lot, you know, I think some great masters, they can I don't know, with this in Vajrayana, you know, we have these 4 activities, and then with this magnetizing activity, they can really like influence how other people perceive the world, you know. So, but let's assume, maybe safely assume, we are not on that level. So let's take me as an example. Even if I try to do something with a good intention, then yeah, somebody else has, of course, all the freedom to perceive it as something negative. And maybe they are also inspired to perceive my well-intended action as negative, because because I'm very clumsy, or in other words, I'm not very skillful. So therefore, when I do my positive action, it comes across very weird. I might use wrong words. I use the wrong gestures, or the wrong timing, or could be little small things only, why my action comes across very strange or weird or negatively. That can happen. But in Buddhism, like the intention is always the major part that sort of counts. And so therefore, in that scenario, I would have to work on my skill, that I'm maybe more receptive about how the situation is, what is the situation, around and in that particular person that I want to help, maybe, so that I then gather all the skills and tools that I have maybe hopefully acquired, and then based on my wisdom, I act as skillful as possible to really make my actions digestible for others. Marlene, what did you want to say?
To ask. Why is nirvana an extreme if it is considered to be peace, if it means peace? That's one question. And the other is absolute truth, so is not nirvana, but beyond nirvana. So there is a mixture in me, and please, could you explain a little bit?
The thing is, nirvana is used a little bit loosely in different texts, and then if you put on your Mahayana glasses, then you have to decipher sort of, what which nirvana is meant here. But from a strictly Mahayana point of view, for example, in Pato Rinpoche's Words of a Perfect Teacher, chapter 5, he's talking about this non-abiding nirvana. And that for him is, and I'm referring to that, that is Buddhahood. You're non-abiding, you're not abiding in samsara nor in nirvana. And for him, nirvana is just, the simple nirvana is just arhathood, it's just, it's not just, it's a much better state than I have, much more compassion, much more wisdom, and totally out of samsara. Yes, but out of samsara, but still stuck sort of in that extreme of nirvana. So, but it's still, there's still self-centeredness, there's still a lack of wisdom, and there's still a lack of compassion. So hence, that is not our aim, Like Shantideva is saying, that could be like an island, that a fisher, like a boat is going to, so that the crew can relax, have some fresh fruits, eat their vitamins so they don't get scoreboot or whatever, and then they regenerate their strength to then travel further and attain Buddhahood, but it's it's like an incomplete enlightenment, and a little bit one-sided. It's more concerned about oneself, and not so much for all sentient beings. So therefore, that is from strictly Mahayana point of view, if there's a mention of nirvana, then often this extreme is meant, and that is to be avoided. And the aim that is usually used in Mahayana is, okay, let's attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. But there was more, right?
Buddhahood so means absolute truth.
Yeah, exactly, that's you said. So Buddhahood means beyond both, beyond both extremes. Because you're not attached to, what did you say earlier? Peace. Nirvana is peace, So we are not attached to a peaceful state of mind, and we are also, so we don't have hope for that, and we are also not afraid of a samsaric state of mind that is suffering. So we are free from hope and fear. So we are not running after peace, and we are not running away from suffering, but we stopped running. That is also what Buddha said to Angulimala. He was stopping to run like a long time ago.
Parasamgate Buddhiswaha.
Yes, so yeah, you're gone beyond any going, or you're gone beyond any running.
Okay.
And only that is the ultimate. Because as long as you're running after something like nirvanic peace, you're still running and restless. And you have a reference point, and that is always binding us and limiting us.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there's some more written stuff. Larry is brainstorming. That's good. It's different from brain fog. I don't know if you know that. FOG, brain fog, if it's a condition. It could be that due to ignorance, I think that I'm doing good, but in reality, I'm doing bad actions. Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. That is the definition of samsaric good actions, but it's a good starting point, because, to use the movie title, Naturally Born Killers, that is maybe how we have started. We were very samsaric, and we were only interested in doing negative actions, which means like egocentric actions. But then we get some therapy, which is like we get some teachings, and then of course our intention gets leveled up a little bit, and then we have a little bit good intention, but of course we still have our quote unquote good old friend ignorance, and we are of course having like always very mixed intentions as long as we are on the path, we have, but then we try to strengthen more and more the good intention, and we try to weaken more and more the ignorant part of it. But as long as we are not a Buddha, that means even up to the 10th Bhumi, until the Vajrayana Samadhi, we have always these mixed things in us. And therefore, sometimes ignorance is stronger than our good intention. And therefore we end up doing bad actions. Yes, of course. And ignorance or our ego is very deceptive, so it might what is the word, camouflage, something like that, or so it might trick ourselves, that this is a good action, but in reality it's just totally self-centered. And Shantideva is also in some of the next verses is talking about that, how we always how our ego always finds justifications to do this or that seemingly good action, but actually it's totally self-centered. Marina is saying, is positivity here meaning leading toward truth, even if it may not be pleasant? That sounds really good. Marina, can you unmute yourself and offer 2 more sentences so that also I can understand the depth of your thing here, please? Yes.
I guess the question, positive doesn't always mean pleasant, right? It's in the sense that, like going to a doctor for a shot. It's not something that, may not feel very good at the moment, but is that what, I guess I'm still trying to incorporate the word positive or redefine the word positive in my daily life.
Okay. Yeah, because that is really great how you put it. Because another movie, Vanilla Sky, is also interesting. In the beginning they talk about what is happiness. And yes, I think if I look at your sentence, then maybe for let's say non-practitioners, happiness is if you get what you want. But for practitioners, it's maybe that you get what you need, sort of, So yeah, and what we need is anything that brings us closer to the truth, you know, or in other words, Buddhahood. And Khyentse Rinpoche also in Berlin 2008, I think he was defining merit also like that. Merit is what brings you closer to the truth. So that is a cool thing. And that is that shows, you know, we are not accumulating merit to have happiness like in higher realms or even in nirvana, but we want the truth. That means we want Buddhahood, which is beyond everything. So, and therefore, if we do actions, I don't know if you noticed, but implicitly I was a little bit paraphrasing Ayadeva earlier. But when we do actions, you know, there are like 3 types of actions. Tainted negative actions. Tainted means like with selfishness. And tainted negative actions, they will bring us to negative results within samsara. Tainted positive actions, you know, dualistic actions that are positive, they will bring positive results within samsara. They are still in samsara because it's a dualistic motivation or action. And then the wise one goes beyond those 2, you know, and is having untainted actions because he or she has wisdom, having a non-dual cognition. And therefore, his or her actions are then untainted and tending towards liberation. That's how they call it. So like these 3 actions, you know, like, of course, we should avoid tainted negative actions because they bring us deeper and deeper into samsara. To a certain extent, it's good to have some tainted positive actions because through them we can reach a state in samsara that is a good working base, you know, like precious human life is one example, to practice from there. But it's only like the tool. But the goal is to accumulate untainted actions, which are based on a non-dual intention, if that is even possible, but based on a non-dual mind, and that is the only liberating thing. So therefore, so a positive action, yeah, could be tainted and could be a helpful thing for further Dharma practice. If I have a positive, precious human life, next life, that is a positive thing. But like ultimately our aim is that we transcend negative and positive and reach liberation. I think also Songtse Khyentse Rinpoche 2009 in IBA in Kathmandu, when teaching the parting from the 4 attachment, he also asked us, and I didn't do it, to tattoo something on our chest, you know, like Buddhist practice is not about accumulating karma, something like that. Because karma is always, by definition, is tainted by that, you know. So we want untainted virtues. Okay, Miriam. For me, I'm really curious how many verses we will cover today, but it doesn't matter. There are just 1,000 verses altogether. For me, it's complicated to imagine the different hells. Could we experience hells in our sort of real life, or we will see them once we die? Yes, it's the quote unquote, the problem is that we don't have a direct sensory perception of hell. So, you know, if you look at the 3 tools in Pramana, valid direct perception, we don't have that of hell. And so therefore we only have 2 other tools, which is inferential valid cognition. And then the 3rd one is we just base our belief on the authority of a valid cognizer like Buddha, you know. So in other words, hell realm is not something that we directly perceive, therefore we can only infer it a little bit based on the karma teachings we have understood. But actually at the moment, we have to trust Buddha's words and descriptions about hell realms. So that is a problem, and that's why it's complicated, as you say, to imagine different hell realms. Nevertheless, it is said there are as real or unreal as all the other 6 realms, and and then even Shantideva is saying somewhere we in the human realm we never find that much suffering as in the hell realm. He says that somewhere. Even though he's saying that, I know many teachers who give examples, for example, chicken farm, or like wherever animals are mistreated by humans, these animals that is like a hell realm. So we can see that in that extent in our own life, even though we only have direct sensory perception of animal and human realms, or at least me. And then other masters, or same masters, they also say, of course, if you are like full of fear or full of rage, that is also, then you are in the hell realm, basically. And you can understand it like that. Like Tryghan Trungpa Rinpoche is teaching this Maitri training, how you go from one emotion to the next, and we all have our individual patterns. And then, one of these situations is definitely also the hell realm, if we are like angry and so full of anger and hatred. So that state itself is then the hell realm. And of course, from higher teachings, Shita Macha and onwards, the mind is not, we will explore that in the 9th chapter. The mind, of course, doesn't have any location, and no substance. So therefore, it is impossible, for a mind, if it doesn't have a location, then it also cannot travel somewhere, it's impossible. So therefore, the hell realm is never somewhere else, but it's only like, as verse 46 says, it's like it's created by the mind, and if these tendency imprints are ripening in our mind stream, and then they manifest outside like a hell realm, but it's not that the mind is moving somewhere, it's just experiencing something else. Same, of course, with bardo and dying and rebirth, that the mind cannot travel somewhere else. It's just something else appearing,
So just to add, I think they've referred to the 6 realms as the 6 psychological states of mind, right? Like how we all experience in our day-to-day lives, and also.
Yeah, I think thanks to Tryghan Trungpa Rinpoche, that was really like introduced,
Yeah.
Mingyur Rinpoche is also teaching on that. But also Khenpo Tsultrim Gyatso Rinpoche mentioned these things. We can, there are different approaches to the same thing.
Arne.
And we sorry, just to my last 2 sentences to that thing, and to that in the teachings there is so much about hell realm, like in this classical teachings, by Sakya Pandita clarifying the sage's intent, or Jigme Lingpa's Yonten Rinpoche Tsu, Gapupa's Dapotajan, or Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo, in all 4 schools we have a lot of reflection on the hell realms, always with a twofold aim, like one is to understand how karma works and to avoid actions that lead to that, and understand how much potential suffering there is. And second, then, of course, develop compassion with all those beings who have been reborn there, because they all have been our mothers. Yes, I heard a voice. I hope it was not in my head.
Yes, it's me.
Emilia.
When looking at perceptions, I think I can understand that when I look and when I hear something, someone is saying something, that whatever understanding and interpretation I have, it doesn't go outside my own mind. It comes from imprints and so on and so forth. But also seems from these teachings and hearing other teachings and so on, as if perception, as if even when I look at a chair and I can understand, at least intellectually, that everything is changing there, and even at the atomic level, is still changing, and then there is no inherent existence. Fine, but I still see a chair. It seems that as if there was still some substance there. But at the same time, sometimes I'm wondering if this is not all about a big virtual reality helmet that, you know, like I'm wearing. And even when I look at a chair and I think there is substance there, in fact, there isn't. It's my perception.
Mm-hmm.
And once the perception changes, everything is going to dissolve and the hat is out. And then, but if that's the case, how even to have a discrimination in relation to one another? And discrimination, because if all dissolves and everything just becomes the same, is that the meaning of not being dualistic anymore? As if we are one, kind of. I don't know if it's if I'm able to explain. Is, you know, as if this is all like smoke, and once the smoke is gone, so it was all part of my perception. But what is physical and what isn't? You know what I mean? I mean, there is one level, which maybe is the superficial one, to understand that if I have a grudge towards someone, has nothing to do with them, has to do with me, with my mind and so on. But if I'm looking at stuff around me, it's like, well, how do I know this is not all my perception in the dream? And we are all in our individual dreams, but actually there is no kind of hard physical existence switch. This is all bound to the perception.
So, what to say? Two things in the beginning. You said, I think, you see out there, you see impermanence and you see a chair. I think both is not possible. Just to start that from pramana point of view, you can't see.
It's not permanent.
No, you can't see impermanence. How will you see impermanence? You know, our perception is radically momentarily. So you only see this single present moment, you know, and then now, you know, now I see something and now I see something else, you know, it's always unique. And later our conceptual mind puts these two things together, starts comparing stuff and then saying, oh, this person, there was a seed in the spring and now in summer we have the sprout, or this person has changed, you know, no wrinkles and now one wrinkle. That is a conceptual imposition on the thing, but we cannot perceive impermanence. It's not possible.
I didn't mean that I would perceive, but intellectually.
Yeah, intellectually, conceptually.
Yeah, conceptually.
Yes, and the same is with chair. We can't see a chair with our eyes, you know. With our eyes, we only see shades of colors, and they even then turn into shapes and color, basically. And then conceptually, we impute that as a chair. Just to start with that. No, I think I forgot what.
But if conceptually we impute,
yeah,
this is in our imprints.
Yes.
So we are conceptually imputing.
Yes. And then, and that is of course true with everything. And we, and everything what we appear comes, as I said at the beginning, comes from our imprints in our continuity of mind. So everything what we perceive is created by these imprints, and also how we perceive is based on our imprints, our habits, you know. So it's quite a self-made system in which we live. But of course, it's not a solipsism, you know, but there is still the idea, you know, that we also have shared imprints, and therefore we live in shared realities, like collective karma or something. But who said that there's stuff out there that is solid? That is a wrong perception from the beginning. Because it is like in a dream, you know, it seems solid. And because we have this strong habit, you know, we reconfirm that, and we have that dualistic perception of outside solid, inside whatever, moving. But that is, if everything is mind, then even saying everything is mind is wrong, you know, because mind is, that, let's say, the opposite of matter. But we have to collapse both, you know, we have to collapse matter and mind. So everything is just period. Everything is just stuff, you know. But you should not even call it everything is mind, because object and subject have to collapse, you know, in a non-dual view.
But then the imprints, if you, sorry, I'll just mention these and then I'll keep quiet. And on the imprints, in the Chittamatran view, yeah, I can, intellectually, I can kind of, yeah, I understand the imprints there. But then when it comes to the Madhyamika, every moment by moment, and then how do you actually have the imprints that you are somehow retrieving from the past and are making you, are contributing to how you perceive something and towards your judgments and so on. To me, imprints, it reads as if there is this database of things that are being collected.
Yes.
But how can there exist a database if the existence and the relative level is all moment by moment by moment by moment? How can that, how the database can have persistence, can, you know, hold, if it's moment by moment by moment by moment? I don't know. How can I even remember what I said 2 seconds ago? How is the memory kept there? Maybe I think I'm asking.
Yeah.
I find it difficult to if when it goes to the Madhyamika way, to where moment by moment, the Chittamatran, it fits, because there is still an idea of kind of some persistence somewhere.
But it's okay. The Madhyamikans are not, I mean, so on the relative level, the Madhyamikans just accept memory, you know, it's happening. That's it, you know. Chittamatrans say this is because of Rangrik, you know, the self-awareness. And there's also a difference between different Madhyamikans, but many Madhyamikans, they just accept that self-awareness, you know, that that it is happening on the relative level, and therefore you can be aware of yourself, you can have memories, you can have dreams, but they don't accept that this is happening on the absolute level. And the Yogacaryans, they tend to say that is actually the nature of mind, and that is truly existent, as it is said in the first verse of Madhyanta Vibhanga. But the but the Madhyamikans, they just say, yeah, okay, on the relative level it happens, but they will never start to give a theory about the relative, you know, because every theory is refutable, you know, and it is a reference point that is wrong. So they will just say, yes, if you plant a seed, a result will come. see it, then a sprout will come, but that's it, you know, that is like the cowboy level, and that is totally unanalyzed. So therefore, yeah, memory is happening. You can remember yesterday, right? That's it. But on the absolute level, there was no yesterday, there is no you, and there is no memory. So,
okay, yeah.
but they will not even start to explain it because it's impossible.
Even because explaining would have to rely on conceptual things, and in the absolute, it has to transcend, doesn't it?
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
the last thing here from Marlene, and then let's try to cover next verse. Non-dual cognition. Yeah, I think we talked about that already. What is that? I think thanks to Emilia also, we talked about that. Wisdom, enlightenment, already the absolute truth. Yeah, I think it's all related, but in our language, we at least differentiate between object and subject, which means the subject is the cognizer, so the non-dual cognizer. So that is the wisdom, you know. And then the object that is cognized by that, even though on that level, of course, there is no subject-object dichotomy, but on our conventional language level, you know, the cognizer is the wisdom, and what is cognized is the emptiness or the absolute truth, you know, like from our conventional point of view. Like prajna paramita is sometimes called emptiness, but it's of course not emptiness, but it's the wisdom recognizing emptiness. But sometimes this is like confused, but it doesn't matter. So yes, so all these terms you're using are related. We could say the non-dual cognition is realizing the absolute truth, and that is the enlightenment, you know. If it's the absolute. Thank you. Confuse even more, because the absolute that we conventionally talk about is in relation to the relative, and if it's in relation to relative, it is relative also. But here we talk about the actual realization of non-duality. Okay, guys, let's cover one more verse, because it's about patience. So we have here 47. Having been instigated by my own actions, those who cause me harm come into being. If by these actions they should fall into hell, surely isn't it I who am destroying them? So yeah, as you know, usually we point fingers outside, think the others are the enemies, but here we are contemplating that it's the opposite. You know, it's our imprints, our karma that is sort of making the other person do this negative thing, and we will, and then that they do negative things, they have negative emotions towards us, so they accumulate negative karma, and therefore they will suffer in the future. That is sort of what is happening in the analysis in the next verses. So the basic idea is nothing happens without causes and conditions. There is not like a truly existent enemy out there, but it is part of our karmic projection or karmic causality. And therefore, we are sort of responsible for all that what is happening, and we are also responsible that this person is now in the position of being perceived as an enemy. And he or she is then in the position to do harm to us, accumulate negative karma, and therefore, last line here, it is us, you know, surely isn't it I who am destroying them. So since our karma created all this situation, therefore this person is creating negative karma and therefore suffering in hell, let's say, because of our karma. And again, our karma comes from our ignorance. So yeah, we should blame or point at our ignorance as the origin of all that. And then actually the next verse, I'm not sharing anymore, sorry. 48 is similar. we are slow. That's all a mind training. So we are slowly trying to understand that actually we are the enemy of our enemy, and the enemy is actually our helper or even Dharma protector. That will come later. Sorry, and why is that? Because in dependence upon them, I purify many evils. So they help me to practice patience, and by that I can purify negative karma. That is, I think, meant here with evils. And so they help me, second line, to practice the patience, and then therefore we are also able to accumulate merit. And in the beginning of the 6th chapter, we have seen already that patience is so great, and that is based on the fact that anger is so bad. And they, as said in the earlier verse, 48 already, 47 already, because they themselves, they now create negative karma, so they will have a bad future in front of them. So actually, we get the chance to practice patience and accumulate merit, but they go to hell, like to make it very strongly, strong, so therefore we are benefited and they are suffering if they are negative to us. Okay, let's just continue since, but then afterwards we can discuss again. But they're all quite related here. So since I am causing harm to them, I have created the whole situation because of my karma. And also I have created, let's say, this sensitivity, or fragility of my body or my mind, and therefore I'm easily harmed. And then, but they are benefiting me because now I can purify my negative karma, and I have the chance to be patient. And so I can change my direction. But they are, as said earlier, they are actually creating causes for future suffering. So therefore, it is really very unruly or very unreasonable, or twisted to be angry with them. I mean, this logic here is, I think, very easy to understand, but of course, it's very difficult to do. Okay, there we have Lucia. On the surface, this appears a little contentious. For instance, when a victim rarely is seen as a source of negative actions against them, murder victims, indeed, in such case, little patience is generally there and rather a thirst to punish. Not so as Buddhist teachings clarify. What actually means contentious? I'm not sure. I'll just put it in the Google Translator thing. Sorry for that. Contentious. Debated. The victim rarely is seen as the source of. Yeah, I hope I understand it. So, from Buddhist point of view, if somebody is doing a bad thing to me, so no, in normal world it is like that, like let's say Yon is seeing that somebody is harming me, then Yon's its worldly reaction would be, oh yeah, poor Arne and the bad bad villain there, the bad guy who is beating Arne, And so you usually would have compassion with me and, let's say, anger with this person, and would try to maybe punish this person or report him or her to the police, whatever. But then maybe then, if Jon contemplates about that, maybe also thanks to the help of Buddhist teachings, then he will have compassion to both of us, to me as the victim, but also to the person who is harming me, because he understands that, that person who is harming me is actually creating a lot of negative karma and will suffer from that karma. And also the cause for this negative action is his or her ignorance and so on. So therefore, he might, maybe have even more compassion to that person than to me, but at least equally, to both of us, he will have compassion. The classic example is like a mother with two kids, and one kid is sick and the other child is healthy, and that a child that is very sick at the moment maybe needs more care and compassion because it is sick. So therefore the person who is harming me is mentally sick, and therefore the perpetrator is therefore the sick child that even needs more love and compassion, Okay, so I'm jumping Jon's question because it's still Lucia there. Yes, indeed, compassion for both. Yes, perpetrator and victim is called for. I'm thinking of the recent killings in Colorado. Yes, really for both. That's really important. Of course, we should not neglect the victim in that process of thinking. But Jon didn't do that. He was still compassionate with me, but also with the bad guy. But both really need our help. Both need our love. And definitely the perpetrator maybe has a wrong view, or is ignorant, or is hurt themselves, or is confused. So therefore that person needs a lot of help, Otherwise he or she would not have done it. Yeah, definitely. Because if we answer that with rage, that would not help, that would only escalate the person and make it more dualistic, So therefore, love is the answer again. So Jon is writing, so if it's my bad karma in the first place, I will be eventually accountable also for their going to hell, isn't it? Oh, that is coming in the next verses. It's not, but it is. Shantideva is sort of. Let's look at the verses. He's not really saying we are accountable in the sense that we create the negative karma that they are now in hell, because it's still their emotion, and we didn't intend that. If I bring you in a situation, or if you bring me in a situation, and that I then use the kitchen knife to stab somebody, and just because you brought me in the kitchen, sort of doesn't make you responsible that I misused that kitchen knife to kill somebody. So there's still a big part of my side that is like me as the enemy now. So it's not if I'm getting angry and going to hell, that is of course maybe triggered by your karma, but it's not really your intention, and therefore not something that you will have to suffer later. But for the sake of mind training, Shantideva is trying to blame everything on us, that we are responsible for everything. Let's look at the verses, because I think it's really coming soon, if I'm not mistaken. 50 here. If my mind has the noble quality of patience, I shall not go to hell. But although I'm protecting myself in this way, how will it be so for them? So, so actually there are two answers. I think the question is, do we go to hell because of all that, you know? I think that's exactly the answer here to Jon's question. And the first answer could be yes, it's not in the verse, you know, but the first answer could be yes, if you don't have patience, but you are also getting angry with that person and hatred and you hate and you beat or kill or hurt that person, yes, then let's say, then if you're not patient, yes, then you're going to hell. But if my mind has so now the second answer is no, we don't go to hell. If my mind has a noble quality of patience, then I don't go to hell. So that is the second option we have if we practice patience. Because yeah, if we don't practice patience, the first option, then yes, we start a new cycle. You know, we start a new cycle of 12 links. You know, we have anger, hatred, and an action, and that will lead to some bad rebirth, for example. But here now in this answer of Shantideva, we have patience, and therefore we don't have anger, and therefore we are protected. Our mind is protected. We are not accumulating negative karma now. That would then lead to future hell realms. And on top of that, since we are, in the past we have done something negative to that person, and now this person is doing that negative to us, that cycle is complete. So that negative karma is purified. And then we could think, and that is in between second and third line. So I can't really, so let's say here, the comma. So in between the second and third line, we might think, okay, but the other person is also not going to hell because they benefit me. And because yeah, they help me to exhaust my karma, and of course, and also they help me to practice patience. So actually, this other person is doing something good. That could be our thought, you know. So he or she is actually not going to hell. But to that, then Shantideva is saying, unfortunately, that person is not protected by our patience, because that person herself, himself, yeah, has no protection, because that person has no patience and no positive intention in the whole situation. So therefore, since they don't have patience, they can't have the result of patience, but they have anger, and therefore they will experience hell in next life. And okay, we still have time. Then let's do the next one also. So yeah, so they will suffer in the future, unfortunately. Of course, we can maybe try to de-escalate the situation. We can also try to make aspiration prayers for them, dedicate marriage, do lojong. Maybe that is also helping them. And then comes a funny logic. So we might think, so maybe if we harm this person more than he or she harmed me, then his account or her account is positive. Do you get it? So let's say I see Natya now, she is saying a bad word to me, like inciting me. So she's my enemy now for the time being. And so she will suffer negative consequences of that. And I will be benefited from the previous verses. I will be benefited because I'm practicing patience, and she helps to exhaust my negative karma. So I'm benefited, and she's suffering because she is creating negative karma. So therefore, Shantideva or the opponent here might come up with the idea, okay, maybe I should then beat Nadia up, you know, so I'm not saying one negative word like what she did, but I do much more negative things to her. So therefore, she is actually, she received more harm than she did harm. So therefore, karmically speaking, she has some, she's more on the positive side, you know, she has created less negative harm, but received more negative harm. So her balance, account balance is positive, you know. And my account, so as a bodhisattva, I might think that, you know, so let's harm her so that she has, a better balance. But this, Shantideva is saying, this will not protect Nadia either. Why? Sorry, Nadia, because she still has that negative mind. Like the initial mind was negative, and now that I'm doing a lot of harm to her, it's very likely that she will get angry with my beating, you know, and the whole situation escalates, you know. So I will beat her maybe, and then she will beat me back, you know, and then she will say more bad words and even maybe whole sentences that are harsh. so it will be a vicious cycle, you know. So therefore, Shantideva, the commentaries are very firm, you know. No, not don't return that to somebody, you know. Don't think like that, you know, that you should return harm, you know, for that weird kind of account thing. That in this case, Nadia receives more harm than me, and then she's actually the one who's benefited in this situation. So don't do that, because that is the first thing. So it will not protect him or her, Nadia in this case either, if I do that. But I will create, again, negative emotions, negative actions. So my conduct will degenerate, and my fortitude of patience is destroyed. Therefore, there are like 4 principles for monks. I wrote them down here. So, of course, they have many vows, but principal things in this situation is never to repay abuse or scolding with abuse or scolding. Never to be angry in return for anger. Never to strike or hit back when being hit. And never to expose the faults of others when they reveal yours. So it's just, not doing eye for eye, basically. Just don't do it, you know, like, because it will escalate the situation. You know, like in the example, you know, if Nadia is saying 1 bad word to me, and then I say 2 bad words to her, she will say 3 bad words to me, and so on. So that is not helpful for both of us, of course, not helpful. That was the beginning of the verse, but now as Arne, that is not good for me. And yeah, it will really break my wholesome principle, you know, these 4 types of good conduct. And the fortitude of patience will be destroyed. And so my it doesn't make sense, you know. It creates more suffering for me in the long run. Sorry, Nadia, thank you for playing along unwillingly. But I saw you doing like this when I asked, is that clear? Lucia. Not eye for eye, but with good intention, stopping another from hurting many others. There may be the situation when courage acts may require using force. Even this means your karma is then unmeshed. Enmeshed, yes, yes and no. As I said in the very beginning, patience is just that we keep a peaceful mind, you know, and then thanks to that peaceful state of mind, then we can use our bodhicitta to see what is best to do in that situation. And bodhicitta here means like compassion, wisdom, skillful means, you know, so that I really do the best possible reaction to that negative situation. And that could be, I keep just silent, like a piece of log, you know, we had that in the 5th chapter a lot. That is definitely a good default answer. But then maybe in some other situations, I have to shout, you know, or I even have to kill somebody or to protect 500 other people, or I maybe have to lie. That is all acceptable. But then it's not so much negative karma that I'm accumulating, because it's only the superficial thing that is negative, you know, the action. I mean, it's not only, but of course it's something, you know, the action, the killing, lying, stealing, even like Robin Hood, you know, maybe is doing that, you know. Let's use Robin Hood, yeah. So he's stealing with a good motivation. So let's say he's, let's use him really. He's in a system of consumerism, and people are very rich, which is already strange, and the poor don't have money and don't have nothing to eat. So Robin Hood is seeing that, you know. The untrained Robin Hood is getting angry, and that doesn't help anyone. Then he is blinded by anger and doesn't know what to do, and is doing some stupid things, and is coming into fights and accumulating negative karma, and also is triggering other people to have negative emotions and negative karma. But then he meets, who was that? Maid Marian or the woman. So he meets her, and let's say she is a good bodhisattva and is teaching him sort of patience. And then Robin Hood is still seeing this bad situation, but you know, of the system, but is not angry anymore, but is patient, and therefore he keeps an unshaken mind very clear, and then he has his bodhicitta intact. And then he sees the best thing is to steal from the rich to give it to the poor. So karmically speaking, his intention is great, and his action is a negative action. And therefore, karmically speaking, because of this negative action, he will have a negative rebirth. But because of his good intention, this negative rebirth is this yo-yo kind of rebirth. You know, it's like touch and go, you know. It's like you go into a negative rebirth very quickly, but then you go out quickly again. Because you didn't mean it, sort of, you know. He didn't mean it really. He had a good heart, but it was just looking... the method he was using was negative action. And as a bodhisattva, maybe you even know that you are very clear about that it's a negative action and that you will suffer the consequences. But maybe as a bodhisattva, even though you see that, you are still ready to do it because you know it is more beneficial for the beings. And Lucia, yes, all situations are different, and yes, the motivation of bodhicitta counts, and and to be really specific in our actions in a specific situation, we need to be free of anger. Otherwise, we don't have the perspective, the view, and the wisdom and compassion at hand, you know, to do the right thing. But then, in each situation, something else has to be done. I mean, not necessarily, but it can be, yeah. I think Shantideva-wise, it's a good point to stop, because Khenpo Kunzang Palden's commentary says here, where we reached verse 51 today, is ending a couple of verses from verse 12 to verse 51, which is called cultivating patience with regard to what brings us suffering. Yeah, that is more or less covered now. Let's just assume that. And then from verse 52 onwards, next time, it is about cultivating patience towards those who treat us with contempt or disrespect. So yeah, there we will. Well, that's actually also interesting analysis. Sometimes also a little bit into the absolute direction. You know, if like the inciting harsh words that we hear. You know, they are maybe just mere sounds and empty. You know, so so that is a kind of contemplation that Shantideva is asking us to do, and therefore we should not get impatient with those scoldings or harsh words. I think that would be it from my side today. Thank you guys for joining, and sorry for, I think the first verse, I really like the discussion, but for those who want to cover more verses, then I'm saying sorry, because yeah, I think we didn't cover much verses today. But I think discussion is yeah, very valuable. Let me find the dedication prayers. Yeah, yes, let's use them from Highside. They are so nice. Because some of you are Highside fans and fans of the inhabitants of Highside. Oh, not this one. Not this one, sorry. Mon Dieu. Here. Sorry, thank you for your patience here. By this merit, having attained omniscience and defeated the enemy of wrongdoing, may I free all beings from the ocean of existence with its tumultuous waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Just as the heroic Manjushri who knows everything as it is, and as Samantha Bhattwa likewise did too, just so to follow all of them and train myself, I perfectly dedicate these meritorious actions. May the precious supreme bodhichitta arise in those in whom it had not arisen. Having arisen, may it not diminish, but ever expand more and more. As long as space remains, as long as the world remains, may I too remain to alleviate the suffering of the world. May I, in each and every lifetime, carry the weight of Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings. And if I cannot bear that weight, at the very least may I be born with the burden of thinking that the Buddha Dharma could reign. Thank you, guys. Have a nice Guru Rinpoche day and stay healthy and happy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank
And
you.
I'm sure you have seen that. There's a short video by Guru Rinpoche. You've seen that picture, I guess.
Wow.
What?
Oh.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao.